Good morning and welcome to Community Connections with Children's Services Council of St. Lucie County. I am still one of your remoting hosts, Sean Boyle, and with me is
Ashley Mock.
And welcome to the half-hour radio program, but also because isn't it fun to be on Zoom in a pandemic? And why not make
All
your
day long.
radio show also a television show? So
Hey.
not only do we come live every Sunday at 10 a.m. on 104.5 The Flame, our great partner, but we also rebroadcast this on our Facebook page at Children's Services Council St. Lucie County. So if you're listening to the radio program, one, thank you. Two, if you ever want to see what these radio faces look like, just jump on Facebook and watch the video. Or if you're watching the video and you're like, Sean, we don't want to see your faces, then listen every Sunday at 10 a.m. on 104.5 The Flame.
There's a way to avoid that for sure.
Man, we are a full service show, are we not?
Any way you want it, that's what we got.
So what we do on this radio program, if you're a first-time listener and if you're a long-time listener and or viewer, you can say it with me. We are not radio show and or television show professionals. What we are and what we do well at the Children's Services Council and what we strive to do every day is 5 things for our community. And those 5 things are: 1, to make sure every baby's a healthy baby; 2, to stop child abuse before it happens; 3, to keep kids off the streets; 4, to keep them in school. And I know Ashley's looking to see if I'm going to do the hand signs. 5, to keep kids off drugs, alcohol, and other risky behaviors by offering programs and resources for all families in our community. And we utilize this time together to talk about what those resources are so that we can help eliminate that obstacle of people and families saying, I didn't know that was out there. I could have used that.
And, I'm glad that we kind of always open the show that way. I think it's important to kind of set the stage for the conversations that we're going to have. And regardless of what we talk about or who our guests are on the radio show, I think our underlying premise is always the same. And it's getting information out there so that if it's not information that you need today to benefit your family, it's information that you are going to eventually encounter someone who could benefit from it. So really, and I know you say this all the time, it's not a passive show, it's an active show. You have to listen, you have to learn about the things that are happening so that you can be a resource to your fellow community members. And we know that that works. We know that there's people out there who have taken this information back and shared it with somebody and been beneficial. And we're going to share a lot today that's probably going to be useful for a lot of people that are listening. So as Sean said, thank you to everybody who has listened for the past, what did we decide, 9 years, however long it's been. But in addition to the radio show, there's a couple different ways where you can learn more about the programs that we generally talk about on the show. And the best way is probably on our website, which is cscslc.org. We have a full list of all of our funded program partners there. We share information about upcoming events there. There's a link there to our St. Lucie Reads Initiative page, which has a ton of information on it currently, especially in this sort of disconnected world that we're currently in. Last week, I shared something on Facebook that John Caesar, one of our team members, put together that I've been using with my kids. I know when you and I talked about it, we were both like, that is so cool. But John pulled together a whole list of YouTube videos that basically read a book out loud. And it's such a cool thing to do with your kids. So that's up on our St. Lucie Reads website. There's just a ton of information contained in our website and that St. Lucie Reads site that could be beneficial to so many people.
And the website is www.cscslc.org. And if we knew how to edit video, we would have that come up at the bottom. But
oh, that's a fun twist.
We're not quite there yet. I'm sorry. I set that level of expectation. Did not mean to. But and you're right, Ashley. I mean, the show was important, and I don't mean that as in a self-congratulatory way, but the show is important to help get the word out, right? And we do our best to try to be a little entertaining and make it light and fun, so that's not just like more info, more info, more info, and we don't have the 2 plants that we sit between, but we try to make it entertaining. But really, it's up to you, the listener and viewer, like. Even if you just take one thing and just store it in the back of your mind, I promise you, through your interactions, and especially now where we are in a strange world. I don't know how else to describe it. And so many families have so much stuff going on, and you could be that light, that hero for that family, just by providing info that exists and being that positive force to connect people to resources. That's really what the show is based on. And quite frankly, and you and I have talked about this offline, we need more of that in this world. Like I am,
Amen.
yeah, some people, you know, there's two ways that you can react in a stressful situation. You can either go negative and just everything is bad, or you can be like, you know what, I'm going to do my best and I'm going to bring everybody with me.
Yep.
And we try to be the latter, and we try to encourage you to be the latter, and we're equipping you with tools to do that.
Definitely. And I would say too, I know I've had this conversation with you in the last couple of weeks. You and I have talked about social media and the love-hate relationship that we might have with it, but I've noticed that a lot of people lately on social media seem to be looking to that outlet for help, like whether they're looking for recommendations or things like that. So I feel like I have really kind of taken personally the charge of connecting people to our funded programs or other partners when possible. And so I feel like all day I'm looking for ways to share that information with people, whether it's on Facebook or Instagram or wherever. But it's really generating a lot of conversation. And I think that that's beneficial, not only because we have these resources and they're available and they're awesome, most of them, but that then people chime in with their own personal experience. Because like just the other day, I recommended Early Steps to somebody, or the Treasure Coast Early Steps program, and 3 moms commented right under me saying, oh, we did that with my kid. I didn't even think to say that to, this mom who was looking for some help. But personal experience and personal recommendations really go a long way with people. And these programs are out there and they're waiting to help our families. We just need to make sure that everyone knows about them.
And the thing that I love about what you just said was that we're out there, reviewing and listening. I mean, it's Facebook, so it's not listening, it's reading, right? I mean, just being technical.
Right.
But that helps shape and form our decisions, because we don't have all the answers. We have some answers, and we're trying to make sure that the people that have that question, we're connecting. But if we hear and see more and we're like, okay, this is something that we can do to help work and correct and get the answers, we're going to do that. That's our whole purpose. So I don't want people to think that we're just sitting back going, we got all the answers, we're awesome.
Okay.
We know we are constantly improving and seeing what's out there in the community and modifying. So that's why it's so important. And I'm so excited to hear that you're saying that you're kind of combing through Facebook, because I get on Facebook and I last like 3 minutes. I'm like, I'm out. These people are crazy.
Well, to that point too, I would just say to people, if there is something that you're looking for your family or for a friend, or if you're trying to help somebody out and you can't find what you think you need, please reach out to us on Facebook or otherwise, because chances are there is something out there that maybe you just don't know about, and we can either make that connection for you, or it's a conversation that we need to start and we need to find something to solve that problem. So, we always want to hear feedback from the community as well on what's missing, because otherwise we don't know.
Right. And so a big thanks to you. I mean, obviously I know that you do that because, we kind of work together. But I just want to say big thanks to you for doing that. That's awesome. And before we go to our guest, y'all thought we forgot. We didn't.
No.
Fill out your census. I mean, come on, folks.
That's it. That's where we're at this point.
If you
listen,
if you listen to this radio show, you knew we were going to bring that up. Please fill out your census. It's so easy to do. It's online. You should have gotten a card in the mail. If you didn't go get a card in the mail, you can go to census.gov and figure it out from there. It will take 3 to 5 minutes. And let me tell you, folks, if you didn't fill it out online, they're training a whole army of people to come knock on your door. So if you're waiting for that knock on the door, I'm okay as long as you answer that door and let them take that info. But it's so important to our community. And again, we've talked about the myriad reasons why it's so important, but bottom line, it's going to impact our community on the infrastructure, on schools, roads, representation, everything. And if we're undercounted, it's our fault. and we have to live with the limited resources, and that's unacceptable.
Correct.
All right, that's enough. All right, shall we let in our guest?
Sure. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit to make this segue, but we talked about, listening to the community and making sure that we're meeting the needs. And we do that a lot with partners in the community. And one of those great partners is the United Way. And we work very closely with the United Way to make sure that the needs of not just children in our community, but really people of all ages in our community are met. So we're lucky today to have two lovely ladies from United Way with us. Jessica Parrish, who is the new CEO. Still new, right? I feel like it's been forever, but not really.
Is that the official title? I mean, I've heard some mixed messages.
CEO.
I heard president. I heard Grand Poobah, Madame President, Queen. Like, can we clarify what the exact title is?
Her Royal Highness.
Oh, I like that. I wish we could draw little emojis like above your head. Like I would give you a little crown. Yeah, that would be good.
No.
So
it is president and CEO.
Well, there you go. Her Royal Highness is still an acceptable address.
Yes.
Yes, Sean has a pageant wave. So Jessica, tell us, Sean and I kind of talked a little bit before we got to you guys about the way that we work in our community, and that we try to make sure that there are resources available for everyone, and that we try to pay attention to the needs of our community as well. And I think that's something that we both do pretty well in St. Lucie County. We work really nicely together in St. Lucie County. What are some of the things that United Way is working on right now that you guys are trying to do in our community?
So I know a couple months ago when the whole coronavirus first kicked off, I was on your radio show, thank you, talking about our COVID relief fund. So the needs under COVID for all of our nonprofit agencies is still very real. We have several nonprofits that are either canceling fundraising events, canceling outreach events, or are having funding cut by any means, whether it's a funder like us, United Way, or Children's Services Council, or even from state, because we're hearing state budget cuts are imminent as well. So we launched a COVID relief fund in mid to late March, and we've raised about $138,000 at the last report that I've seen, and all of that money went straight back into the community to the nonprofits that need it the most. That right now is the forefront in regards to supporting the agencies in the community with the needs where we're at today. Also right now the hot topic is, what about schools? What will schools look like come August? So every year we also do an annual Stuff the Bus drive at our local Walmarts. I've been on the radio show several times talking about our Stuff the Bus drives in July. That because of COVID, it's not going to happen. We can't have or even ask volunteers to stand outside of a Walmart and solicit donations from complete strangers in today's environment. So Deana, who is our new director of Collaborative Impact, has been able to quickly reframe that to a virtual Stuff the Bus campaign. So through Amazon Smile, we set up a wish list, and anybody that's interested in donating can go through the Amazon Smile link on our website. And then we're also hosting a back to school event where we have volunteers that will be packing backpacks full of supplies to those teachers that will be returning to classrooms, so that students that may have families that were impacted from COVID, layoffs, reduced hours, things like that, maybe they're not able to provide school supplies at the beginning of the school year this year. So we will be providing school supplies to the teachers to have on the very first day of school.
Wow. So, Deana, she didn't really leave anything for you to talk about.
Plenty. There's plenty.
She said everything.
Yeah, well, I can expand a little bit on the school supply drive. So we are continuing it through the 27th, and it's very easy to order supplies. Everything is on our website. It takes you directly to our Amazon wish list. And when you check out, everything's pre-populated for you. It just is sent directly to our office. So it's a very easy process. We also have on there a way you can donate, specifically just donate different dollar amounts. if you don't want to order yourself, and we can order, and there's some breakdowns on there. So to identify if you want to contribute $25, that's a full book bag of supplies. So you can do that option. And as well as Jessica to talk about our distribution to the school teachers. We are doing it in a safe and fun way. So we're going to do a drive-through curbside pickup where teachers have been able to sign up for slots, and we're just going to have prepackaged supplies, put them in their vehicles, and we still need some volunteers for that. We do have volunteers for our packing days, but we do need some volunteers for the Friday, August 6th and Thursday, August 6th and Saturday, August 8th for the distribution to the teachers. And we are going to be following guidelines. So we are trying to keep everyone safe, our volunteers as well as the teachers, by getting them the items they need to get back to school.
I like the curbside pickup option. I have to say, as a mom of 3 kids, I really hope curbside pickup is one of the things that sticks around. Like, I am a fan.
Absolutely.
I could curbside pick up just about anything. I like it.
So I'm going to assume that most people are familiar with the school supplies, but I'm going to bet some people aren't, or maybe don't know the full history. So, you know, we try not to get into anything too controversial on this show, but obviously kids are going back to school. I said it. It's happening, at least as of the day that we're recording this.
Today
And I know
happening.
people fall on all different spectrums on how they feel about that, and the school district has given people choice. But the bottom line is, every year there are kids that go to school without supplies. They're not prepared. I mean, you know, to learn in school, you have to have some of the basic stuff. You got to have a backpack. You got to have paper. You got to have pencils. You got to have pens. And unfortunately, there are some families that can't provide that for their kids. So that's where you guys kind of come in, right?
Yeah, about 20 years ago, Chris Adams, who used to be with United Way, started the School Supplies for Students program to fill that need. So she was hearing from a lot of teachers that there are students that are coming to school not prepared, and it's really affecting their self-esteem when they sit next to someone who's got a whole bunch of brand new stuff and they walk into the door with nothing. So at the very beginning, we started with just brown paper bags donated by Publix full of school supplies that went out to maybe 60 students in the very first year. And as time went on, the need kind of changed. So we started to see a lot of local organizations do their own school supply events and provide backpacks and supplies straight to the students. So United Way morphed it to be a school supply resource store for the teachers. So in a normal environment, teachers can schedule an appointment and come and shop at the store and pick up the supplies that they need for their classrooms. Because of COVID, Deana came up with the idea of the drive-through pickup so that teachers don't have to come into the store and be around a bunch of people. We have enough space where the volunteers can spread out to pack it and just have it all ready to go. They can pull in to the parking lot, say, hi, my name is Jane Doe. I teach at Weatherby. And then we already have it listed down, have it ready to go, and it can go into their bags.
That's awesome. And how many schools are able to participate? Is that kind of open for all schools, or like a first come? I asked that because I'm not gonna lie, my wife's a teacher, so I'm just curious. So how does somebody sign up for that?
You know, not gonna lie, but your wife has signed up for a slot.
She already, and I'm not gonna lie, she already told me that. I was like, really?
Yeah. So the back to school events that we do during preschool week is typically open to all schools. So it's on a first come, first serve basis. Obviously, we have limited slots and limited availability for what the volunteers can pack and get done in a certain time frame. But it's open to all schools. During the school year, when we open up the actual store, that'll be limited to probably 19 to 20 schools, you know, depending which ones return their forms and their packets and, you know, show an interest.
Well, and I think that's a good point to make, Jessica, because previously when school supplies were done, you know, we're going back like 10, 15 years, it was just at the beginning of school where people had an opportunity to get the school supplies. But you guys really identified that there was need that happened throughout the year. So, you know, come December, kids might be out of all the paper that they had, or out of all the pencils that they had, or whatever it is. So there really is sort of a need for a second wave of school supplies for them, because they either run out or lose or whatever it is. They kind of need a replenishment in the middle of the year. And so now that teachers have that opportunity, trying at least to mitigate some of that need that happens mid-year.
Yeah, and the teachers that are at the eligible schools that can shop in the store are welcome to shop monthly. So they can come once a month and pick up the supplies, because maybe in August they had a specific student in mind. They were able to provide that for that student, but then September, another need popped up. It wasn't just Jane Doe, but now it's John Smith needs new school supplies, or the backpack broke, or something happened within that time frame. We see that a lot with the younger kids. The backpacks breaking, the pencils running out, the glue sticks disappearing. So we offer it on a monthly basis to where the teachers can come in and pick up the supplies.
I think if there was ever an environment for the need to be flexible, I think we're living in it, right? So we appreciate that. I'm curious from a let's say I want to contribute and I want to make sure that my money gets the biggest bang. Is it better for me to go through Amazon, or is it better for me to give you money because you have purchasing power?
I would say it's better for the monetary donations, because we have relationships with local vendors where we get school supplies in bulk at a higher discount than what you can order on Amazon.
Oh, and I like that, supporting local business too, right?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Well, I mean, every
question answered.
How easy is it to get on Amazon? So while you're on Amazon and you're buying that thing that you really don't need, but it's really just to address the stress that you're going through, I'm may or may not be from personal experience that I'm articulating this story. Also jump on and buy some school supplies then, right?
Exactly. Simple.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about Amazon, which I actually just learned myself, is the Amazon Smile, that you can identify your charity of choice for additional funds. When you buy certain items, a portion of that can go to your nonprofit of choice.
Yep.
And I thought that was something really neat that I recently learned myself. And I do, like, every time I log in, it gives me the option to change it. So I'm not stuck to. So it does give you the freedom to change, but United Way is one of those choices. So
I thought I was just supposed to have a big smile on my face when I checked
that's
out.
what you did when you're ordering.
That's what happens when the box shows up. When the box shows, then you
it has that big
followed
smile.
by guilt. Yes. So
I get excited every time I see one of the smiles coming to the door on the boxes. I get very excited. I hear the doorbell ring. I get really excited. For the school supplies, not at home. I do that too, but just at the office, whenever we get the boxes of the smiles, I'm really excited.
You mentioned guilt, Sean, so I'm going to guilt you into something, because we have a need for volunteers.
We talked about this.
Saturday, August 8th, to help provide these school supplies to the teachers as they're picking up. It's not necessarily packing, but checking them in and putting them into the car.
because you're like, we can't get Sean to do the real work, but we could get him to do the handing out work. Is that what you're telling me?
He has a lot of experience with loading cars from Operation Dinner Table. He is good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're a pro.
I am. I'm open to that. When is it again?
August 8th.
Saturday, the August 8th.
And where will it be at?
It will be at the St. Lucie County Logistics Center on US 1.
All right.
Yep.
As long as I am not traveling to drop my son off at college, I will be there.
Okay.
So outside of Sean, should you need other volunteers for that?
Oh,
or
I
any
assume
other
there'll be
options?
other people there.
There will be other people but we do need some more volunteers. And the link is also on our website. It's let me look real quick. It's unitedwayslc.org/stuffthebus, and you can get all the information to take you directly to our wish list, as well as register to volunteer.
Look, Deana,
Yes.
you've been there 90 days. You got to have that website memorized.
And what it throws me off is the forward or backward / for Stuff the Bus. So that's why I have to keep looking.
Oh, okay. Good save. Good save.
Yeah, I like that.
All right. So if anybody's interested, obviously Amazon Smile, look up United Way, St. Lucie County, buy some school supplies. ship it to them because it puts a big face on Deana's
A big
face.
smile on my face.
Big smile on her face. But then also you can give money. And what's the best way if they want to either volunteer or they want to give money? Is it just, giving you a call, go to the website? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
The website's going to be the best option because everything is on one page. So our wish list is on one page, the donate, as well as the registration. So it's just one spot and you can do it all.
Look, Deana, this is I do this every time, and
I'm
I
sorry.
make people give out their cell phone numbers. But we'll do the
Oh, yeah.
website, whatever. We'll do
Yeah.
the or you could call, right? 772-464-5300.
5300, yes.
You're impressed.
Did you
I knew your
remember
number.
that phone number?
He did. I don't really. I struggle with that sometimes. It was
I don't know
good.
my own cell phone number, but I know the United Way's office number.
There you
I
go.
may or may not have called there a few times.
That's awesome.
All right. So
And everything is also on our Facebook page.
what's
Facebook
Facebook
and-
again? I've heard of this.
The face, yeah. It's a social networking thing. I don't know.
Sean's
There's a
broken
movie
up with
about
Facebook.
I hear it's all rainbows and unicorns on there.
Yeah.
So I don't sound like a bitter Facebook user at all. So we've got like a few minutes left, and I know we could have an extended, but we recently partnered with the United Way, but you guys really took the lead on something that's really an extension of conversations that we've had on this radio show about equality and equity and, systematic and issues and justice. So can you kind of maybe briefly recap what you did in partnership with us and what the future looks like for that?
Yeah, I'll defer to Deana since she scheduled it and I already talked enough.
I thought there was going to be a
Sure.
good battle of rock, paper, scissors on that
Yeah,
one.
all right, absolutely.
I defer.
Absolutely. Well, so we did our event last Friday, and it was in collaboration with Children's Services Council. Our Women United group is kind of spearheaded it to bring a forum of education and kind of reflection and for your own personal reflection on the topic of implicit bias, which is really identifying your own biases related to any topic. It can be race, it can be
Age.
there's like topics on it about weight or just male, female, anything. So just really what your own biases are, identifying those and making changes within yourself and how you treat others. We had Crystal Morris, who is with Tykes and Teens. She also is with One Caring Adult. She's the CEO of that nonprofit. And she was just a wealth of information and really presented the topic of racial inequity, justice in a really calm way that really made everyone comfortable, I really felt. We had approximately 67 people on the Zoom call, which I thought was amazing because we were really able to reach a lot of people in one setting. And I was really impressed at how the conversation was able to happen with that number of people and how everyone was really comfortable with that number of people. So it was just really a great experience. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback from it, and we are looking forward to continuing that conversation with additional Zoom trainings since we can't do in person. So we'll definitely keep it's not a conversation that can end. We just have to keep talking about it and making
Right.
changes. So yeah, so we're really
And
happy to be part of that.
I like what you said, and I think your point is, Crystal's been on the radio show with us several times when we sort of started having this conversation.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that's so great about her and the way that she presents and the way that she trains is that it's simple, and she makes it simple and she makes it easy, and that makes it good for everybody.
Absolutely.
And I'll just say, because we got to wrap this part of the show up, and for those of you that are listening on 104.5 The Flame, we're going to rebroadcast this, the video of it, 11 o'clock on Children's Services Council Facebook page. But we're going to continue. I want to talk a little bit more in the after show about what we kind of learned in the implicit bias training. But I just want to say a big thanks to United Way for organizing that, allowing us to partner with you. But it was important dialogue. And Deana, you said it. It's just a start, right? And you guys are doing follow-ups. And, you know, if change is going to take place, it needs to take place internally with all of us first before we go around saying, you must change, you must change.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this training really set that this Zoom conference or discussion, really, that was what was most impactful, I think. I think everybody walked away with going, wow, okay, I've got some work to do.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
real quick, I want to thank you all for coming on. Remember, go to the United Way's website because Deana's got it memorized. What is it?
It's unitedwayslc.org.
Yes. And you can get involved with the school supplies because it's so important, because, you know, we want to make sure that every child has a great start to the school, and we want to make sure every parent has a level of confidence, and this is a great way that you can impact that. So be sure to check it out and stick around for the after show if you like. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. It's a weekly radio program on 104.5 The Flame every Sunday at 10 a.m. And because we're in a pandemic and they won't let us sit together, it's also a Zoom show on Facebook on our every Sunday at 11 a.m. Thank you for tuning in. And remember, it's our children, our community, our future. Now more than ever, we're all in this together. See you later.
Thanks.
All right, so welcome to the after show. So I think we could talk a little bit more about the implicit bias training. I know, and Crystal Morris is excellent. She's been a guest on the show several times, you know, and one of the takeaways that I got from it was we all have implicit bias. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It just means you are a reflection or an output of the environment that you were raised in. And so one of my takeaways was, you know, again, we all have something and we all have to identify and recognize it and work on it.
Yes, exactly. I mean, even if you don't think it's there, deep down inside, when you take some of those questionnaires, it'll come up and you'll notice it.
Well, and I think too, we all had the opportunity to participate in that, and I'm going to call her out, and I don't think she would be upset about this because she said it to all of us on the call, but Deana Trabolsi, who is helping with Women United, said at the end of the call, like, she didn't realize a lot of the things, like, she knew that they were wrong when they were happening when she was a child or when she was much younger because she grew up in a very small town, but you don't really think about how those things impact your decisions or your choices or the thoughts that you have about people. And the comment that she made that I really appreciated was that her children were raised here in this community, and that she really felt like that benefited them because our community has a much broader appeal, or, you know, better conversations, or organizations like us get together and talk about how to make things better. And she really thought that that had a huge impact in their life because it was just so different than the way that she grew up.
Yeah, and after the training, I spoke to one of our board members, and I told her, I said, you know, a lot of times we kind of live in our own little bubble, and we make our own little bubble. We see that it's going on, but a lot of times we're like, that doesn't really affect me, so I'm not going to pay too much attention to. And I think Crystal gave us a different perspective on how to understand certain things. And I was telling my board member, I was born in California, Southern California, Venice. And when I left, we moved to Florida when I was in 4th grade. I have a class photo from 4th grade in California, and it's predominantly Asian and white. Like, there wasn't a lot of African Americans. And then when I moved here, I ended up at Garden City Elementary on Avenue Q. So it was predominantly African Americans, and white were the minority. So it was drastically different depending where you're raised, the region of the country. You know, the South, we have a plethora of different races and ethnicities and everything, but little pockets don't have that, kind of like what Deana was saying.
Well, and if anybody's watching and is like, you know, these biases, like, how would I know? I know Crystal references it, and you can Google it. Harvard has a survey that you can take. It takes like 10 minutes, and it just runs you through a battery of questions, and it'll tell you, like, you know, based on the results, and it's, you know, been proven to work or whatever. We're not just, you know, it's not like a magic 8-ball or anything. And you can run through, and you can, it'll identify what your biases are. You may not realize it. You're like, oh, wow, I had no idea.
Yeah.
And they ask some questions that you really have to think. It's even just taking the test itself is very powerful, because you're like, huh, Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it can. I just looked it up. It's at implicit.harvard.edu. And like Deana mentioned earlier, it can go through race, it could go through dress, it could go through sex, male or
Age.
female. It goes through everything. It's not just a race issue. It covers the gamut on the different tests that you can take.
You know,
Well, oh,
no,
sorry,
go ahead, Ashley.
Sean.
Go ahead.
No, you can go.
Well, I was just going to say, you know, this is why I love St. Lucie County, right? Like all this stuff is happening. And I'm not like, so I don't know what the word is. Like, I know other communities are doing stuff, and we've been, we as a community, like through the roundtable, has been addressing disproportionate minority confinement and all, there's stuff going on, but all this stuff is going on. And we as a community could have been said, oh, it's not in our backyard. Right?
Right.
George Floyd, for example, didn't happen here. We could just be like, sorry for you guys in Minnesota. I hope you'll work it out. But in, through this effort, through some of the stuff that we've been doing, through stuff that I've seen, like the police department's doing, we're taking this to heart, and we're thinking, you know what? Through this, we're going to be better. And we're building in the strategies and the systems and the opportunities to make it better. And I just think that that's something that we should be not overly proud, like let's not go crazy on patting ourselves on the back, but at least as a community we're having these dialogues and we're actually trying to move forward and do something.
Right. When
I
we
think it
really
also
look
is helping
internally-
us. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, when we were looking at it internally, we really thought that the best way for us to push it forward was through this education and awareness. Not everybody is aware that they can have this implicit bias because, like I said, you're in your own little bubble. And until you really sit through and go through these tests and go through a training like we did with Crystal, it's when it really comes to the forefront of your mind and you're like, yeah, I never realized that before, but I can see where that's come into my life.
Yeah. I actually, I cut you off and you told me to go ahead. I want to make sure we get your point in.
I don't remember what I was going to say now.
Well,
but
I just cut Deana off too, so we got to bring Deana.
To circle back. Well, I just think that, Sean, you just said it about doing better. And I think that Crystal says that at one point in the training, she referenced it, is that when you do the surveys or you're doing these trainings, is that identifying that we're all just trying to improve ourselves and being open to make that change. And it's okay to have these difficult conversations because it doesn't mean you're a bad person. It's just learning somebody else's perspective or the world views and making yourself better and imparting a change within your community. And
Right.
the only way we're going to do it is by talking. As long as we are internalizing it and we're turning blind eyes, nothing's going to happen.
Right.
Well, and I think the thing too that I know we have had conversations about at the Children's Services Council, and I think Crystal is doing it in work with other organizations as well, is including our kids in that conversation, because I think we can all agree that these conversations happened when our parents were growing up. It happened when their parents were growing up. And I think all of us probably want to get to the point where we're not having this conversation anymore because it's not a problem. And I think, we've talked about how we can do it with the kids in our funded programs. And I know Crystal's done some work with Boys and Girls Club of America about how they can, get teens involved. And I think that's an important aspect of it because they are going to be the ones who grow up with the opportunity to really make change. And we have to prepare them for that.
Well, and the kids it's all learned behavior. They're not born with biases implanted into them. It's all learned behavior from what they see going on in the community, what's on TV, what's in movies, what's on YouTube, and that's really what's imprinting on them. So if we can get them into some sort of training or, even education and awareness like Crystal has been doing early on, it helps the whole future in the long run.
And I'm trying to find a good way to articulate this. I'm glad this is the after show, although this is still a permanent record. We're by saying we want to talk about implicit bias does not mean that we are taking a political stand one way or the other, because that's kind of how it feels like in today's environment. All we're
No.
saying it, and the only way I was trying to figure out the best way to do it or to articulate this, and the only thing that keeps popping up in my mind is the example that Crystal went through in the implicit bias training. She had a picture of a black woman, like it was just like a normal picture, and she kind of described the scenario, and she's like, tell me what you think about her. And everyone's like, oh, the scenario was she went and asked for services. She has like 7 kids and, blah, 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 blah. And, the reactions are, well, she has too many kids, why does she have so many kids, and blah, blah, blah. And then it was a picture of a white woman, and kind of sort of the same scenario, but the reaction wasn't the same. And it wasn't because anybody's like, oh, we are terrible people and this is the reason why we think. It's to what you said, Jessica. It's been, it's not purposeful. It's just been implanted. And then I'm not doing the example well, but the bottom line was the woman that had 7 kids, she adopted like 5 of them. She was like this superhero that was doing so much for her community. But until you know the full story, and by just looking at it, everybody jumped to, she has too many kids. Why does she have so many kids? Somebody needs to get her birth control, but not realizing the full story. We make these assumptions. So I say all that to say it's not a bad thing. It's just an opening of the mind, taking a moment, getting the full story before rushing and making these judgments. That implicit bias isn't intentional, and sometimes we jump and make these assumptions.
The thing I thought was so crazy about that example in particular is that mom was one of Crystal's moms from Indian River County. So it wasn't like some far-fetched example that she pulled out from some book somewhere. That was a client that she worked with and knew. And, I think that was important. It was impactful for me to know that, because it gave a face to the problem here. Like it happens here. Yeah.
Right. And the other thing that it sticks in my mind now, thinking about it, it was a picture of Martha Stewart and
Snoop Dogg.
No,
it was LL Cool J.
LL
Cool J.
Yeah.
And LL Cool J, a black male rapper, tattoos, chains, and they're like, which one of these is a convicted felon? And so,
exactly.
obviously we all knew, because everybody knew, but the point was well taken. So, and I say all that because I think this training was so impactful, and I would urge everybody, as we evolve, if you can jump on these discussions, and or even, quite honestly, contact Crystal Morris and have her do it for your workplace. I think it was so impactful to us, Ashley, that we actually had conversations afterwards, and we're like, we see a role for training our organizations about implicit bias in the engagement department, if you will. So we're actually gearing up to make that happen. I'm letting the cat out of the bag, and we haven't even really executed it, but it was so impactful. We're like, we cannot, now that we know, we train our providers on how to look for trauma in kids and how their service delivery may be impacting their trauma. So now that we know that implicit bias can also cause trauma, we can't ignore that. We got to tie that into what we're doing with our agencies, and that's what we're going to do.
Well, and it can affect their service delivery also.
Exactly.
As a provider.
Exactly. And I think the important part too, and Deana said this when we first started this conversation, is this was just the beginning. And I think organizations like us who go through that training with Crystal or whatever other conversation it is, are going to start opening their eyes to it more and identifying ways that they can help. And I know that United Way has a plan to continue having events like this, continue talking about implicit bias. And I think the more that we can all do that, the better off we're going to be, because it'll eventually become like just the norm to have those conversations rather than them being uncomfortable like they are now.
We all need to grow, right? Like if you think you got it all figured out, I don't care what age you are, if you don't think you can grow, then, I'm sorry. So, the whole, don't live your life thinking you got it all figured out, because I trust you, you don't. Keep continuing to grow. And that's really what this is all about.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
All right, Deana, you survived your first radio.
Did.
Is this your first radio show, I hope, with the United Way?
No.
With the United Way?
United Way, yes.
Yeah.
With United Way,
I know
yes.
you were a superstar somewhere else. I knew you'd done radio before. I said United Way.
We don't care about that.
I'm sorry. But I just want to reflect real quick on what Sean was just saying is, I don't know if anyone watches The Daily Show with Trevor Noah, but he, I don't even know if it was recent, but there was something where when he does in between the people where the audience can ask questions, somebody asked him if he could take something from South Africa, where he is from, and impart it on America, what would that be? And his answer was the comfort level with race discussions, because he's like, clearly there are so many issues in history in South Africa with apartheid and minorities being persecuted, everything like that. And it's an okay conversation there. You can address it. It's a comfortable conversation where nobody gets offended. It doesn't become contentious, anything like that. And that's what he would like to see happen in America. And if this is the starting point for it, that is amazing. We're taking one step forward. So hopefully we can get there.
Exactly. Every journey starts with a step, right?
There you go.
All right. Look at Deana, man. Deana comes in and wraps the show up perfectly. I love it. I love it.
To the bow.
She's like, boom, mic drop. I'm out.
There you go. There you go.
Well, thanks for coming on. We greatly appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out with us a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And we'll see everybody next time.
Absolutely.